It's almost complete. We have landscaping to go. And you can see the misters are on, so if you get too warm, you want to stand under the pergola and be cooled off by the misters. Okay, so I think we'll start off tonight with someone that's very familiar with this room. And introduce Father Dylan is Tom Cavico, a member of St. Peter Paul. Tom?
Thank you, Roger. Just a little while ago, Roger asked me to introduce Father Dylan, and Roger and I belong to Kiwanis Club together and see each other every week. And I was in the back, and I said hello to him. He says, "Would you do me a favor and introduce Father Dylan?" And I said, "Sure, I'd be honored to." Most of the people in this room know that our beloved pastor is going to be retiring, and I think this is the greatest honor that we can pay him. This is where he started as day one, and nearing the end of his ministry to our church, he gets a chance to, not give a homily, but talk in general terms. There's a couple of things that I want him to clarify. And I'm reading this. I'm not making this up. I absolutely am not making this up. It says, "Even the best of men were fired with greed. Among these young priests who arrived during this time, we find the name of Father Michael Dylan, who served as assistant pastor at Auburn and pastor of Forest Hill from 1881 to 1891. He told us that the mandatory age was 72, I think. Probably 172. And Roger said, you know, he asked if the church was a welcoming church. I said, God, yes. You know, we all feel at home at St. Peter and Paul. He says, well, this is the sign that we found at the church. And Father Dylan can help explain it. It says, no violators will be persecuted to the fullest extent. This is the gentleman who came from County Limerick to be our pastor. And I'm not going to go into any further introduction. I'll let the boss explain. Please, let's stand and give a very, very warm welcome to Father Michael Dylan.
Very dangerous to applaud before one begins. And I think if you can hear me, I don't think I'll use the mic. To begin with, I would like to commend the Historical Society of Rockland for doing the beautiful job of restoration. And maybe if your members are here, could you ask them to stand? We give them some recognition. Now, I arrived here on the 1st of May, 1981, on a Friday. And a week from this Friday will be May 1st, falling also on a Friday. So it's almost exactly 28 years. And it's kind of interesting, I looked at the baptismal register to see about some of the baptisms I had here in this church. When I first came, I arrived in Roseville on May 1st, Friday night, about 11:30 from Red Light. And there was a baptism arranged for 1 o'clock at St. Mary's Church. And for years I had never done a baptism, and so there was a font with no drain on it. And yes, it was over here. It was on the right. And it was a kind of cut out of stone, and I think Gary said that they know where it is. And the first thing I had to do was to clean it out because there was earth and sanitized in a long time. I put in some water, I had to mop it out. And the second baptism, Mom and Dad are right here. I haven't changed at all. Matthew Gilfillan is the second one to be baptized. Matthew 28, yeah. To be baptized on the Saturday. Many of you might be familiar with the family name, which is Peter Vukovic, and his father has been on the town council in Loomis off and on for the past 28 years. Maybe going back a little bit in the history of St. Mary's Church. In 1881, a little blurb appeared in the paper that there was a dance on St. Patrick's Night to raise money for the building of a church in Rockland. And the next little piece of information was that the Archbishop of San Francisco, to which this whole area belonged, that Bill Bolton sold an acre of land on Front Street to the Archbishop Alemany for the building of a church. And Bill Bolton, they called him Uncle Bill. He never married like many of the Irishmen. He just forego that altogether. He was well known in Rockland, and it had 160 acres, and I believe it began somewhere south of Clover Valley and would have come down this area. He came from the County Wexford, where some other famous Irishmen came from, like the Kennedys. He came from the same area as the Kennedys. And the acre of land he gave, but for legal purposes, there was $1 transferred. And then in 2 years, we find that they built this church. And I'm sure much of the building was done by volunteer workers. And on the 15th of August, the Bishop of San Francisco came on the train and he blessed and dedicated this building as a place of worship. Now you can imagine with the